Hey everyone, strongsweetcaroline is here, and if you aren't already, make sure to subscribe below and like this video if you enjoy my content. It really helps to support creators like myself and reach out to more people and share knowledge about health, wellness, and empowering you to live your best life. So today I am going over my labs, and I know some of you follow me on Instagram, and I posted how this is the healthiest I have ever been. I'm going to talk about why and what has taken me to get there, and specifically what my lab results were. So before we dive deep, I do also want to pitch my Patreon page. I'm going to be posting more exclusive information on my life, whether it is hormone related, behind the scenes. I'm going to be starting some cosplay content as well. So go ahead and click the link below, check that out, and would love to have you join in. I'm also going to be sharing more fitness, nutrition, hormone health tips. So, a plethora of things, but I want to help keep people motivated, inspired, and have a tight-knit community where we can share it in a safe space. And unfortunately, a lot of places on the internet, you can post stuff for free, but a lot of times the most valuable content is the things that we invest in. So that segues perfectly into why you get labs. I've done several videos about getting your labs done, checking your hormones, checking all of your metrics and your basically biofeedback at a deeper level. So when it comes to our health, I am a big advocate that each person is bio-individual. One person's poison is another person's profit. You might have some great things that work for you and your health. Other things might be a detriment to it. So when it comes to understanding what works, what doesn't, this is why labs are super helpful, because it gives us another way to measure what's going on in our body that we can't see or feel on the outside. Not to say that your labs won't be indicative of how you're feeling, but sometimes your labs actually don't show what you're feeling on your body. So that's where it's just another way to measure. It's not the end all be all, but it is in several instances has helped me, my clients, others that I've done consult calls with to figure out what's going on. So it's just a really great tool that you can use. Let's go ahead and dive right in. So like I mentioned before, I've been tracking my labs consistently. I do lab checks at least 3 times a year. Depending on if I'm doing a competition prep or not, I might do it more or less. And last year, coming out of my show season in July, was probably the hardest prep I've ever had, physically, mentally, and overall was facing metabolic syndrome, low motivation. I was under some depression, going through a lot at one time, and that was reflective on my labs as well. So before doing the prep, my hormones were pretty much bottomed out. I didn't spend enough time to correct them for my sex hormones and my thyroid. Going into the show, that kind of exacerbated the issue because, as we know, when you go into a competition prep, you're putting more stress on your body. It's not less. Just because you're eating less food doesn't mean it's less stress, because then your body thinks that it's starving and you're doing more activity and you aren't necessarily as good at balancing your sleep and your recovery. So things that all go into play, right? So when you look at my labs from July, overall, my sex hormones, they were improving, but still pretty low, especially my progesterone. I was lucky that I was having a menstrual cycle, but it was still not a pleasant one. And then my thyroid was pretty much TSH elevated because my natural thyroid production wasn't able to sustain itself. So that's where you see a lot of numbers with your TSH is extremely elevated, above like a 3.5, above a 4, and then your free T3 and free T4 are very low, like below 1, then there's some dysregulation going on, and it's probably hypothyroidism subclinically on paper. So we identified that. So I took some time, was able to still train, but I modified the way that I trained. I modified my approach going into the gym. I was getting really bad like headaches and this tension when I would train, especially legs. And we noticed that was a correlation to my high hematocrit marker. So we modified my diet, modified my cardio, made some adjustments there. And then by the time I ran my labs again in September, we noticed a big improvement. Hematocrit was lowered from the 52 to the 40, so that's a huge drop. Then we look at my sex hormones. Estradiol is actually increased, getting closer to what we would call estrogen dominance, but it's in ratio to the progesterone. So my progesterone went up to 11.6, which is okay. It's closer to where I want it. I would probably still want it a little bit higher. And then my testosterone actually went down to a 16. So we kind of saw a dip in testosterone, increase in estrogen, which will happen for a lot of women, right? We kind of see that flip-flop between the two. Then we go into my thyroid, and my TSH was still high at a 5.0. My free T3, free T4 were slowly going up, but not a lot. So to take it back to the drawing board, that was in September. Now, got my last labs done end of January 2022. So between September to January, I had done a lot of changes to my daily lifestyle specifically. So I'm still training hard, training about 4 days out of the week, doing some cardio here and there, but I was altering a lot based on where I'm at in my menstrual cycle and knowing when my energy is going to be higher, where my hormones are going to be at, and alternating what type of training I'm doing, what type of cardio I'm doing based on that. And even when it comes to my nutrition, I change up some of the micronutrients, change up some of the supplementation that I might be adding in, things that will directly impact these numbers and the way that my body might respond to things. So come January 20th, did my fasted, and my hematocrit still at a 40, so that's great. My sex hormones, my estrogen, my estradiol is down to 114, so it went down slightly, still in good range. Progesterone is at 9.3, so it went down a little bit, but still something I can continue to work on. Testosterone went up slightly at 21. So now all three sex hormones, to me, are more balanced and in optimal range, especially for muscle growth and body composition. So then we look at the thyroid, TSH. This is a huge improvement. So we went from a 5.0 down to a 3.76. That is pretty remarkable, and that was without any type of thyroid glandular, no thyroid support supplements directly. So that is all lifestyle stress management. Then we look at my free T3, free T4. My free T3 went from a 2.5 to a 2.9, so we're getting even more into that optimal range. And then free T4 went from a 0.95 to a 1.24, which is awesome. So super happy with all of those. And overall, like I said, I just feel good, and noticing the difference in my physique, in my training, in my recovery, all in all, just like feeling better in life too. Even though I've been stressed with things like the home renovation and moving and getting our businesses up and going more, making that a big primary focus, everything is obviously coming together. And so one thing I also wanted to talk about in this video specifically that I haven't in any previous video was my DHEA. We did test, and I haven't really done that in the past. We know that pregnenolone is the mother hormone that's being produced to produce the rest of our sex hormones. Well, that DHEA works directly from pregnenolone. If the DHEA score is not in a high enough range, that can affect how the rest of our hormones can be produced and metabolized in the system. So my DHEA score was a 211. The range on paper, they say 80 something to 300 something, so right in the middle, right in a healthy spot, and that was good to see. The other piece that I want to talk about was my IGF-1. So there's a lot of conversation regarding, do you want a higher IGF-1 score? Do you want it lower? Is it for longevity? Is it for muscle growth? What are you trying to do? So at the end of the day, IGF-1 can limit our longevity if it stays elevated too long. Correct. However, when we increase our IGF-1, we do increase that chance to grow muscle. So in bodybuilding, yes, you want a higher IGF-1 score, but for longevity and anti-aging, you want a lower IGF-1 score. So that's where it kind of goes hand in hand. What do you really want? My IGF-1 score, so the normal range is 91 to 300. Mine was a 316. So to me, that's good news because it means that my IGF-1 is optimized for muscle building, and utilizing the substances that I do is leading to that IGF-1 increase. So it's another sign that certain things that you put into your body are real. So overall, super happy with all my numbers and my data. And like I said, I'm really excited for this next phase in training and looking at starting a cycle because everything is in a good range. This is the ideal spot where you might consider running a cycle, is when all your hormones, your life feels under control, you have a good financial stability, everything is in sync from a life standpoint. You don't just run a cycle to get lean or put on muscle. No, you need to do it methodically and think through things. So overall, like I said, we go through a lot in this video, but feel free to comment below if you've got questions on labs. And I do offer one-off consults if you want to go over lab work or your certain health predicament that you might be in or your certain health goals, because I don't want to see more women getting hurt because their coach says to do something, or they think that they're in a good spot, but something doesn't feel right. This is when it's really important to talk to someone smarter, more experienced than yourself. And that's what I do. This is why I work with other coaches and mentors and get consults from other people in industry who know more than I do. That's how I've been able to learn and to grow. So overall, give me some feedback below what you think on this video. Make sure you subscribe and turn on that notification bell so that you get updates when I post new videos. And thank you all for the continued support. I'm actually going to go into more detail on that IGF-1 specifically on Patreon. So make sure you go check that out if you're interested. And look forward to seeing you all again soon.